baby can do whatever she wants to do. And whether that is becoming a scientist and trying to figure out how to cure diabetes, and that would be an ideal life for me. Just like she's doing something that isn't necessarily the most lucrative thing, but does something for humanity.
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I'm your host, Angela Duncan. Today's episode, I get to interview Lavonne Idlette. She is a past Olympian track star. She's built an incredible company here in Miami, a securities attorney teaching wealth preservation and philanthropy. Check out this episode. All right, Lavonne, welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
I'm amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. So we recently met at a great networking event, Epic Talks with Melissa Wagi. And I was introduced to you by a friend, and they said I had to interview you on my podcast. So here we are in the studio today of Startup Miami. Thank you, Lisa. And I would love for you to kind of just start with your story. Like, how did you get to... And there's going to be a lot in the story too. So let's just do a brief overview of kind of your background and what got you to doing what you do today.
Got it. So I am originally from Virginia, but the child of a person who is in real estate. So I grew up sending FedEx and faxes in the 90s, wishing that I was going outside. And so my father is a land developer, and my grandfather is in agricultural real estate. And so I was always exposed, but I didn't have any value for it really. Mm-hmm. And when I became an adult, my dad really thinks that he's the brain and that I'm Pinky. So he's like, oh, you should go to business school, you should go to law school, you need these things, bring them back for our family and make them strong. And so through that time, I was also a student athlete. So like, I'm just like dragging out the whole student athlete thing by going to college, then grad school, then law school, and bringing together things that I sort of knew, like real estate and helping other athletes get into real estate for cash flow, but then learning what securities was and how to raise money was mainly just by being exposed and going to different places. And I had a lot of people who just was instrumental in just like saying, hey, I think you're doing this. I think you could do something more. And so that's sort of the very weirdly all around the world version of how I became a securities attorney who does wealth strategy for mainly athletes, but I also work with other young people who are now making money and trying to figure out where to put it.
How important do you think the sports part of you played into what you do today? Because I think children that grow up with sports, I'm not coordinated. I ran track, so that was the only sport I could figure out. But do you feel like that played a big part in who you are today?
100%, because anything that you want to do well, you just have to apply discipline to it. So I also ran track. So running track is all about knowing what your vision is, but having to like just do stuff every day that kind of sucks, and being like, on the other side of the rainbow of doing these workouts every single day, there's something good. And if you apply that to anything in life, that's just how it goes. So like it developed my just do it because you have to muscle. And gotcha. There's no other option.
Gotcha. You were an Olympian.
Yes.
I need to know more about this. So talk about your journey to that. What kind of made you get to that point in your experience?
So I ran track only from high school, and I knew I was fast, but not necessarily that fast. And so when I was in high school, I went to a really good high school, so everybody was like better than me. So I just kept like trying to find a new event to try, which ended up making me go to college to be a heptathlete. So in college, I got exposed to what professional track athletes are because we had quite a few training with us on campus. And then I moved to Florida to like train wholeheartedly. And and you get to train year round in Florida because I
Yeah.
grew up in Virginia. And I was able to figure out how to be better because I finally focused on one event, which was the 100 hurdles.
Mm.
And and I really just focused literally for 5 years to get to the Olympics after college. So I graduated in 2007. I did compete every year, but I went to the Olympics in 2012 and ran the 100-meter hurdles.
That's so amazing because we just watched the Olympics,
Yes.
and I still watch the track competitions because I was not fast by any means. I just picked a sport because I wanted to say I played a sport in high school.
Mhm.
And to what you just said, though, and I think I saw a quote from Tom Brady. He's like, it's not fun getting up every day, every morning to work out, but I know it's what's necessary to get to where I want to go. So to have that type of mentality is just incredible. So congratulations on that. I love that.
Thank you.
I was also in real estate and I dragged my daughter everywhere. And she used to go look at houses and we flipped properties. So I would put her to work. So I get that too. And she used to say, I will never be in real estate. And now that she's in college, she actually works for marketing for a real estate company. So I thought that was a very interesting part of your story and a lot of connections there. But let's fast forward to today. So securities attorney, what makes you do that? Like, what's passion behind it for you?
The passion behind it is that I've been able to help people do more projects because they can go out and raise capital. But the other side of that is a lot of people know how to make money. They don't necessarily know where to put the money. And so being
Mhm.
able to like bridge the gap between the two and give people a place where they can get a return. And then it also turns into something, a bigger business or some kind of a real estate deal has been very fueling for me. Like I absolutely love being able to expose people to the fact that like, you're doing something great. Let me show you how to like do a little more.
Yeah. And I do find that too. Business owners are great at what they do. But the reason for my podcast too is to teach people about money because they make money. They don't know what to do once they have it.
Yes.
So let's talk about maybe the wealth preservation piece of it a little bit. What advice do you give maybe to a business owner that might be listening that's doing well in their business? What are some things that they should be looking at most importantly first?
Um, What is the balance of putting money back into the business to continue to reinvest and grow,
Mm.
and then taking chips off the table so that you can diversify and get passive income? There's a balance there because you don't want to be the person who has grown a business for 20 years, but you only just reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. And then when it starts going down, you're like, I don't have any money.
Mm.
So just helping them see where there are areas where they can take chips off the table, whether that's raising money, bringing on partners, getting some leverage, or just exposing them to like, okay, as cash flow comes in, even inside of the business, here are places that you can be investing that'll grow the capital.
Good information there. And let's talk about the philanthropic piece as well. For me, it's very important to give back. That's a huge part of the reason why I started the podcast is to help other people. And that I think is important to a lot of business owners as well. So let's talk about that piece too.
Yeah, I think it's super important to have a vision that grows something for you, but also can help humanity in general.
Mm.
And most people get more fulfillment out of doing for others than for themselves at some point. And so I help people set up foundations and donor advised funds and things like that so that they can have dollars set aside that they can allocate to causes that they care about. So we started our foundation about 9 years ago for the purpose of helping people in low income housing realize all of the things that are available for them that
Mm.
already existed. So when you are focused on making money and going to work and taking care of your family, you don't necessarily have time to like Google that, there's free childcare down the street or that, there is opportunities to upskill and resume writing for free. But our nonprofits built literally around doing that for the residents of the buildings that we own. So I care about that a lot because it's important to help people see themselves in a bigger way and like have a pathway out of affordable housing. Although, it's a necessary thing.
Yeah. And it goes back to you don't know what you don't know until you
Yep.
reach out and ask for help or start doing some research, and that's how we grow too. What's in the future for you? What would you like to see? 5 years from now, what's the version of you that you envision?
So for me, in 5 years, I will have, so now I have a toddler. And
Mhm.
so I want to be maximizing the amount of time that I'm able to spend with her
Mhm.
and my other older kids, so that we're traveling a little bit more and I'm stepping out of the business as much. So I do work quite a bit now, but I've been building the systems to bring more people on board and hire more attorneys and things like that so that we can, as a family, spend more time just like in the moment.
Yeah, I feel that shift. I think with a lot of business owners too is it used to be grind, 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 and now we realize life is precious, and the quality of life is more important than the number of hours you're putting in, or necessarily the dollars that you're putting in. But that's great that you are hiring, and you're helping to change those lives too, because then you're giving them a skill set that they can turn around and do great things for their family too. So I love that piece. Let's get back to the audience a little bit more from an entrepreneur perspective. Running a business can be extremely difficult. So I'd love for you. You just mentioned that you're expanding your and hiring.
Mhm.
How do you find right people, or what do you find people and then grow them? Talk about your process.
So I am a person who believes that if you find the right person who has the mindset of growth and that fits the culture of
Mm,
your organization, you can teach them any kind of skill set,
mm,
especially if they're coachable. So I look less for people who have already done what I do and more for people who are seeking to get into an organization where they can be valued and that just are cultural matches for us because we're kind of laid back. We're not like I've never worked in a corporate environment, so I don't know how to
ah.
be like a dog eat dog world. So
Yeah, I was in corporate America, so yeah, I remember that. And so it's the quality of the people that you want to have
yes.
around you. Gotcha. And that is important because you want to come to the office every day. You want them to want to come and work with the company every day too. So that's important. If you could pick a career for your toddler, what do you think it's going to be?
Mm. So I have come to the conclusion that almost everybody in my family is supposed to be scientists,
Okay.
because we're really good at math and science, but no one pushes you that way because you don't make money doing that until you make money doing that. So my goal is to only be like successful enough that my baby can do whatever she wants to do. And whether that is becoming a scientist and trying to figure out how to cure diabetes,
Yeah.
and that would be an ideal life for me. Just like she's doing something that isn't necessarily the most lucrative thing,
Mhm.
but does something for humanity.
Yeah, and I think it comes from us teaching them too, to show them the importance of what we do and not the bank account piece of it too. But
Yes.
this is a podcast about money, so we do teach. But at the same time, I want to teach people how to maximize their dollars and their time so that they don't feel like they're so tied to putting in that grind all the time.
Yes.
Lavonne, if our audience wants to reach you to see more about what you're doing, how do they find you?
So I'm on Instagram, La Hurdles too. I'm a little bit funny on Twitter, so you might want to follow me there. It's just my last name, Idlette. And then the easiest way to reach me directly is LinkedIn. So I actually check those messages myself.
Oh, that's good. You,
Yeah.
you haven't hired that piece out yet, then.
No, it is one of the strongest tools. So I like being there. I like connecting with people, and we actually do a lot of our hiring through LinkedIn.
Oh, tell me more. I'm curious to know because people seem to say different things about the social media. Why do you feel like it's a strong tool?
Because it's one of the only places that I know that people actually check their own messages. It's also still chronological, so it's not like suppressing your content and all of that, like the other platforms, which are algorithming you
Mm,
into paying for ads. Um, the other thing is it has so many tools that allow you like search for the people that you're searching for and all of that kind of stuff on the backside, like Sales Navigator.
mm,
So I have not been able to find another outreach method that's just like pure, authentic. If you just reach out to people, most people will write you back. It's something that I think that automation does poorly because
mm.
every time I get an automated message, it's like 4 paragraphs long. I'm like, "Who did you think like, you're a stranger. Who you thought was reading this?"
You're right, though. I think LinkedIn, I probably get the least amount of spam. I mean, everyone wants to help me with my podcast, and so I get a lot of spam messages, but not so much on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean start spamming me on LinkedIn, please. It's good. All right. So, one final fun question for you. If you could pick a superpower, what would it be and why?
Okay, so my superpower will be to be able to read people's minds,
Hmm.
um, because most people don't know how to ask for the things that they want or
Mm.
need, and so if you were able to actually listen to what they're thinking, you'd be able to help them better.
Yeah, you could problem solve. I think especially with women, we don't always like to ask, but
Yes.
we're always here to help. So remind us again how to reach out to you.
Yes, so Lala Hurdles 2 on Instagram, Idlette on Twitter, and Lavonne Idlette on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Empower Her Money podcast. I am grateful for you. Please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, like this podcast, share it, subscribe, and let's keep teaching others how to take control and be empowered with their finances.